Today we're going to be talking about getting bigger and stronger, making a rep squad, and what separates good players from great ones. Welcome to episode 34 of Run It Straight. Okay, our first question comes in from Andre. If someone is wanting to lose the last bit of fat but also wanting to get bigger and stronger, what should they do? I'm really not sure what this means. If you've lost fat and you're wanting to gain weight but you're not happy with your fat loss yet, then I would say to stay in your calorie deficit until you reach the level that you want to be at before slowly increasing your calories to bring you from a deficit into a surplus. So weight loss or body fat loss 101, just to reiterate things we've said I don't know how many times before. If you want to lose body fat, you need to be in a caloric deficit. That's the first thing, the most important thing. You can't lose weight if you're in a surplus, or if you're in balance, you must be in a deficit. Second to that, you need to be consuming a sufficient amount of protein, which is around about 2 grams per kilo of body weight. Thirdly, you need to be performing resistance training. So they're kind of the three things that you must be doing if you want to lose weight, particularly you want to lose body fat. So we're assuming, considering it says here that you want to lose the last bit of fat, means you've lost a bit of fat, which means you would be in a deficit. And if you've done it the right way, like we've said, you're lifting weights. So I would get rid of that last little bit of body fat and then slowly bring your calories up to find where a balance is, and then just increase it by, let's say, 200 calories above what that is. So let's say that you've been dieting down on 1,600 calories. A balance for you might be somewhere between 18 and 2,000. So let's sit for a week, you sit on 1,900 and you see what happens with your weight. If that is your balance, add 200 calories onto that and then go forward from there. When it comes to your training, for weight loss and weight gain, you're still looking at hypertrophy work. So higher volume, higher reps, multiple sets, and training either at or very close to fatigue in each set. Anything?
Yeah, just something small to add to that. So bigger and stronger. Rep range you will probably want to hit is between, I'd say 8 is the sweet spot for both of those to get bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
So the 8 rep range, but you still need volume, so then you'd go towards your higher reps after that. But besides that, bigger, stronger, resistance training stays on track, but the body fat loss comes from the calorie tracking, so the calorie deficit, as well as if you needed to add some cardio, you could, but the more cardio you do, the more detrimental it is to building muscle. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it.
Again, this would be one of those cases where if you could give us a little bit more information, that would be helpful. I don't know how many times I say that.
Yeah.
It's like every episode multiple times. Okay, next question comes in from Jules. As a 19-year-old, what's the best way to make a rep squad? Have an uncle or a dad as your rep coach. No, seriously. Nepotism is a massive problem within rugby league. At every single level, and anyone who says it's not is either ignorant or lying. But let's assume that you don't have someone who can help get you into a team.
The only other way is to be that much better.
Yeah, look, you've got to be that good that they can't ignore you.
Yep.
And you need to develop a level of resilience that's uncommon, particularly in this day and age. That's probably the biggest thing, and we've probably even seen that since we started like 8 years ago. Resilience is even lower now, isn't it?
Yep, there are people dropping off at younger and younger ages. There's not as many teams in comps, in clubs anymore.
And there's kids that, I haven't made development at 14. Should I stop playing?
Yeah.
So a couple of, like Cody Walker, he didn't play in the NRL until I think he was 26 years of age, right? And you know,
And now Andrew Johns is talking about him playing till he's 40 because of his style of football.
Well, there you go. Okay, so, but one that happened, player who made a debut 2 weeks ago, that's really going to date this whenever this goes up. Dan Russell debuted for the Dragons this year at 27 years of age, after spending basically the best part of 7 years in reserve grade, whether it's in Queensland Cup or New South Wales, before finally playing his first NRL game for the Dragons. Now, I don't know anything about him. That was what I knew that he'd made his debut for St George, but other than that, I just looked up on Wikipedia to find out more details about him. But what I do know is that the character that's going to be required to play on the fringe of the NRL for all of those years and not give in is extremely rare. And it doesn't take freakish talent to do that. It just takes an iron will to take all the no's, and instead of hearing no, you're just hearing not yet. That's what it comes down to. Whenever anyone says no, it's just don't think of it as a no, it's just not yet. You're just not ready yet. It's not that, you're not good enough, you're just not good enough yet. That'd be one of the biggest things I would say is you need to develop some resilience and you need to keep at it. There are multiple pathways to the NRL, like we just said. But the other part is what we mentioned before is to become so good that they can't ignore you. Become a student of the game. And that means physical preparation, become a student of that. Skill, become a student of that. Tactics, leave no stone unturned. Learn how to get on and communicate with people and how to be a team leader and get other people on side around you so coaches see you and they think, yeah, that's someone that we want to have as part of our organisation. Even if it's at 19, you need to do those things. If you're in a trial game, you need to find ways to stand out and make the players around you better. Talking is one of those ways to do that. Yep. Communicating. Like I said, you leave no stone unturned. If the door's locked, you go to a window. If the window's locked, you go to a different house. Yep. If there's no houses, you go to a different street. If that doesn't work, you go and you get a sledgehammer and you go and you knock the door down. Just do not give up. You've got to become undeniable and to an extent become elite. Anything you want to?
Yeah, look, another approach is as well putting yourself in the best position to be able to progress to those higher levels. So as a 19-year-old, you're still at SG ball level. So beyond SG ball, put yourself in a club that they have the feeder to go to that next level. So it makes it easier to get those progressions. Is there an example, good example?
Oh, well, look, if you're 19, what did we say here?
Yeah, 19.
19, so you're trying to make SG ball. Let's say that for whatever, now, obviously you want to go and apply and it's what's the date today, Spiro? It's the 10th of August. And in the last week, I've seen a whole bunch of clubs are now putting out their Harold Matts SG ball and quite a few of them their flag trial dates. Okay, so go and apply so that you can trial for as many different clubs as possible. That's your starting point right now. If you want something you can work on immediately. Yeah. Second to that, assume that, let's say that you're not going to make one of those. You need to find somewhere that has open train and trial capacities, and you need to go and look to play Sydney Shield next year. So if you don't make one of these SG ball sides, that's fine. That's not the end of the story. You need to go and try and make it into a Sydney Shield, preferably one that has Sydney Shield and has Ron Massey. And so then you need to be training your backside off. So when you rock up to their preseason, which might start the start or the mid of November, you're fit, you're fast, you're ready and raring to go. You haven't just been sitting there eating and drinking for the last 6 or 7 weeks. You want to go in and be in shape.
No, that's
about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So someone that has a Sydney Shield, Ron Massey, and then flag as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Which we've talked about that before. Maybe we need to do another update. We probably should do an update at this time of the year. Yeah. I think that's pretty much everything we talked about. And look, you can go through the NRL and find countless examples of guys who have debuted late, a lot later on. Yeah. Go and look up their stories. Look at the journey that they went through.
Or guys that didn't play Harold Matts or SG ball and still made first grade.
Yeah, we've brought that numbers up before.
Yep.
That it was about 39% of NRL players didn't play Matts or SG ball. So it's not half, but it's a significant proportion. Okay. Our last question here it's anonymous. What separates good players from great ones? I think we touched on this a tiny bit when we talked about trying to become elite. And we have talked about it before, but what's the difference between being a professional and being elite? Okay, so look, everyone in the NRL is a good rugby league player or they wouldn't be there. Everyone is a professional. They're all getting paid pretty well to be there. But every one of them is definitely not elite. There is a significant difference between someone who's a professional and someone who's elite. To give you a bit of an example or an idea about that, if you have a look at the Olympics, Okay, you have a look at the 100-meter final. All the guys that are all lined up along there, they're all jacked, shredded, in the most amazing shape possible. There isn't one of them that's looking a little bit heavy or looking a little bit flabby. Doesn't happen, does it? You basically look at most Olympics. You look at all the swimmers; they all look like clones of one another. Massive V taper, big lats, big back, shoulders. They all look pretty. And because if you're not like that, if you're 1% off, you don't make it. And that's what it is to be an elite sport. But when you look at a lot of rugby league players, you could pick out numerous players in each team. And I'm not going to go sit there now and pick on individuals, but you'd look at, there's 13 that run out in the field. There's 2 or 3. It's like, gee, that guy's got a bit of a gut. He's a bit overweight. He's out of shape. Those guys are not elite. If they were, they would be diced and jacked and shredded.
And there are plenty of good players that are in that position.
Yeah. So if you're looking at an elite player, the elite players are the ones that have done all the prep that they possibly could. So someone like back in the day, Cooper Cronk would have been like that. Billy Slater is like that.
Yeah, Billy Slater's the big standout for me. I think he's the one that did all those 1%ers, and that's really the difference between a good and a great player.
Yep. It's not someone who tries to who duck and dive on his food. It's not someone whose skin folds are sitting 5 or 6% higher than what they should be. It's not someone who, when you're doing fitness, they're telling you to I'll just go a little bit easy, otherwise they'll push us harder on the next couple of reps. It's someone who's always giving 100% of everything that they have to be the best footballer that they can be. And that makes them elite. And that's that big difference. So I guess the difference between being a professional and being elite, obviously a professional gets paid, but being elite is when you don't leave anything on the table. Everything that you can do, you are doing. And look, you don't have to be in the NRL to do that. You can do that at your age right now. Whether you're 15, you do absolutely everything that you possibly can to put yourself in the best position. That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm just breaking it down into dot form, basically what makes you a great player over the good players is the 1%ers. So putting on all those extra work. So coming to training, staying behind. Coming training first, staying behind. You're the last one to leave. You do all those extra work that puts you in front. Becoming elite, becoming a leader, and becoming very vocal and carrying the team, raising the energy.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, and that was our last question. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Send any questions in. Please send in questions. Please give us as much detail as possible. We'd love to go into a lot further detail, but we can't do it if you don't give us context around that. Okay? And we will see you in the next one.